they're a crack in the great wall of the vision fund, if you will. So now we're going to close out with a little bit more on that. And if you are tired of hearing about the vision fund, we understand. But this is important for everyone out there who tracks the late stage markets on the private side to understand why the winds are changing. So there has been a number of stories out, I feel, in the last couple of weeks disclosing or detailing really changes of the vision fund, changes in their sentiment and how they're approaching investments and that sort of thing. So the style of investment that we've been talking about, the WAGs of the vision fund's portfolio, appear to be in the past. According to Winkler over at the Wall Street Journal, who's a tremendous reporter, Masahiroshi's son, or Masa's son, is telling people to push companies to generate more cash, to scale back the super high risk investing, and really focus on corporate governance, things that you would expect after the WeWork fiasco. So this is kind of a good response to that. Less Zoom pizza, more Slack is kind of my impression of the changes that's going to be happening over there, Kate. Do you think this is going to surprise some companies that were hoping to get money from them and now might not? Or is this mostly Vision Fund 2 signaling in your view?
I think it's the latter. Do you think a lot of if you're a company that's relying on cash from SoftBank, it's not a great position to be in. I think companies that are backed by them are aware that they're not sure how things are going to go. I mean, I still think SoftBank will raise a lot of money for the Vision Fund too. I mean, they already had a lot of commitments. I know that doesn't necessarily mean much unless the money's actually, in their bank account and they can really deploy it. But I do think that they still will raise a lot of money for Vision Fund 2. I'm not sure if it'll exceed 100 billion, like I think reports had said it might.
Yeah, there were reports that could be anywhere from 100 to 150, depending on how you counted Middle Eastern possible commitments.
Right. I do think there'll be Middle Eastern commitments. I think, do I think Microsoft and Apple will still? I'm very curious about some of those entities that did sign on to the second Vision Fund, like Microsoft and Apple, which I think caught us by surprise at the time. I'm curious if they will continue to support SoftBank. They do have a bad track record. Yes, they have. If you look at their portfolio, there are investments they've made that don't appear to have had any issues, but many of them have or are experiencing issues right now or are overvalued in some form, like DoorDash, which, seems to be doing just fine, but is worth a lot of money and may have a really hard time when it does transition to public. Fair.com, like we talked about last week, right? I think they laid off half their staff nearly.
Yeah, but here's the flip side of this. The Vision Fund has put money into over 80 companies. We talk about 7 of them, give or take 8, 10% tops, 15% tops. What I need to do, and I haven't done this yet, and it's an intellectual exercise that's kind of a failure as me as a reporter. I need to go better understand the other 70, 75 that they put money into, because I think you make a really good point. And it would be,
there are many others.
It'd be an embarrassment to you and I if we covered the mistakes and we covered none of the successes, and it winds up being a fund that does better than we told everyone. So that's to come. But I think certainly the news in the last 6 months has been less positive than it was in the preceding 6 months. And that's why we've been talking this the way we have.
Yeah, I mean, they're still going to have a lot of money to invest too. I mean, they probably have plenty of capital in Vision Fund 1, right? Has that been deployed completely? I know they've invested a lot. And there was a period in, I think, 2017 or maybe early 2018, in which they were making so many deals. I remember covering like 3 deals per week, each deal being like hundreds of millions or even $1 billion or north of $1 billion, and just being mind blown because they were completely altering the landscape of venture capital. And I think we've become a lot more numb to that now, because not only has the Vision Fund continued to prolifically invest, but many other venture capital firms raise humongous funds so they could sort of similarly strike deals like that. So now we've all become numb to it. But I guess the question too is moving forward, if SoftBank does raise a bunch more money, will there be companies that will look to these failures like WAG and be like, well, I don't want $300 million from you. I'm not selling you half my company.
Well, I don't think we're going to see any more of the $300 million for half the company situations. But I will say that $300 million is $300 million, and that has 300 million reasons why you should take it. And so I think that money is still going to talk in a very material way, because fundamentally, I have seen no flip in the private markets regarding CEOs wanting to go public sooner than they have been, which is very late. So I think while that still remains the kind of like MO of the startup world that you and I cover, SoftBank will always have a place to go, because they will write you the biggest check the fastest. And that is worth a lot to people who don't want to do another year of fundraising. So
you don't think there'll be as many lessons learned from this entire saga as could be?
Okay, when does anyone actually ever learn a lesson from more than 5 minutes?
People don't really learn them.
look at the leveraged loan bubble that's happening just 11 years after 2008. I mean, no one ever learns. Everyone gets greedy. Everyone forgets. And that's why capitalism goes through booms and busts. So, I mean, we will see what will happen. But I think money will still be the most attractive thing you can offer a founder, especially as the market gets a little bit worse, a little more tenuous. But we should stop.